So I use traveling as a means to think, get in a creative space, maybe alter my mindset a little bit. Maybe sometimes your thoughts or my thoughts can get kind of like in a little bubble. They get restricted and I can't really think outside of the box or that bubble. And so it's important every once in a while for me to get outside of that bubble. Sometimes I forget, and when that happens, not a lot of growth-oriented thoughts are coming out. Sometimes more negative thoughts come out. when I travel, it's not the case. I mean, more positive thoughts are coming out than negative thoughts, which is phenomenal. That's what I want most of the time. One of the things I'm thinking at the moment is about how I'm literally in another country and I will spend hours in a coffee shop. I mean, I'll spend hours just sitting down, right? I spend a lot of time walking like I'm doing right now, just with maybe no sense of direction, no sense of purpose. That's a better way to say it, because the more I walk around, the better sense I actually get of the direction here. You start learning the neighborhoods and stuff as you start walking through the same path. And anyway, so I like that. And then I see unique stuff. Sometimes I just stumble upon some cool looking coffee shop or restaurant and I'll go eat in there. One of the things I'm thinking at the moment is about coffee shops. When you have your own company, you can work from home, or maybe, you're a freelancer or something, you can work from home. But sometimes when you do that, your productivity gets lower. Maybe you just can't really get yourself to, like I said, think outside of the box. I'm not 100% sure if this camera's gonna work for this. It's given me some warnings for filming too long, but this is a test. In Vietnam, I've gone to coffee shops, but the coffee shops there are quite different. I mean, they're so noisy. Everyone's hanging out there. It's not really conducive for work. I mean, you could read a book or something, but you're definitely putting in earbuds and you're trying to, use some noise canceling stuff because it's loud there. So it's not really conducive. And if you go to like a co-working space, it's designed for you to get work done. That's cool. And you can get work done, but they also cost a decent amount of money. I mean, you could go to a coffee shop and pay for a cup of coffee like every day and probably be cheaper than that. You could change your locations and stuff. But having that routine of a co-working space makes sense. So sometimes I think about that. Maybe I should get a co-working space membership in Vietnam. What is it, like $60 or up to $150, depending on where I want to go. And it's like, oh my God, I could go to coffee shops way cheaper than that. And in fact, I don't like have a strict work schedule. Maybe it would help me get to working more regularly on a more regular schedule. But then again, like I could just go to coffee shops. So this is a dilemma that I'm facing at the moment as I'm here and I'm going into coffee shops and I'm getting like a tremendous amount of thoughts out of the way. I was gonna say like trying to get work done, but really the work has been like editing videos and just thinking through these really deep thoughts about my life, my future, and that kind of stuff, which I really enjoy. I mean, I could spend tons of time journaling on that. All right, so I can, when I'm back in Vietnam, go to nicer coffee shops, pay a little bit more money. For example, this is, to a Vietnamese person, this sounds hilarious. To an American, you're just, I wonder how this will sound. Maybe you'll let me know. But sometimes I think about just going to Starbucks and doing some work. When I was in university, I did that. When I was doing my internship to become a registered dietitian, constantly I was going to Starbucks to work on homework, study, the masters, whatever I needed to do. I was constantly going to Starbucks and that was it. And get a cheap cup of coffee for like $2 and just spend hours there studying and working. And so, that became a habit of mine. And even after a full day of work or studying or whatever it might be, then I go to Starbucks and be there for a couple hours. And I knew that I would get more done there than if I was at home. Fast forward to today, where I'm spending the majority of time at home, and maybe not all the productive stuff is getting done, but I don't have to do as much, right? As being in university or being at a job and trying to get stuff done. These thoughts came up because while I'm in Japan, this area doesn't really have like a ton of coffee shops, which is interesting. Like a lot of places do, This one has a few Starbucks. And I'm just like, oh, I'm probably gonna go into the Starbucks. There's this other coffee shop that looks really, really old style. Looks like it's like a smoking coffee shop where there'll probably be a lot of old men smoking cigarettes and just reading newspapers in there. And I really want to go in there. No, I'm sure I'm gonna smell like smoke and stuff, but like, I want to do that. But at the moment, I want to be productive. And if I go in there, I'll probably read and I'll be productive. Because the reason I'm gonna say this is like your environment really does affect your mindset. And so like, when I go in there, I know I'm gonna wanna read, or maybe even talk to some people. That's just that environment. But when I go into Starbucks, I think it's an environment for work, to be productive in. And so I'm thinking about going to Starbucks to write, to be productive, to think about things. I can also read if I want. And heck, if I want another cup of coffee, I'll just go to the other place, which is kind of what I'm thinking. The reason I brought up the thing about Starbucks in Vietnam is like, you can get a cup of coffee just at any coffee shop for $1, less than that. Seriously. There's a lot of places I go to, I can get a cup of coffee for maybe 60 cents. And so do I want to spend more for a cup of coffee? Well, you just get to that thought because you know you can get it cheaper. You know, you go to Starbucks, you're going to get a cup of coffee for $3 to $4. That's a lot more than 60 cents, right? Oh my goodness, it's a lot more. But if the work or mindset or productivity stuff you're getting done at that place is worth it, like, what's the difference? Let's just say a coffee's $1 at a local coffee shop in Vietnam, and it's $4 at Starbucks. So that's a $3 difference. And so the question you could ask yourself is, first you could just say, oh man, $3 is not worth it. I could just save money. I can have the same thoughts. I can do the same stuff in the other environment. It's not actually the case. Your environment will affect your mindset. Now, if you can do it regardless of place, congratulations, that you're great. And if you actually do that, that's great. If you just think about it like, oh, it can be that person, but you don't actually do it, that's another thing. And instead, if you thought about that difference of the $3 of like, what happens for me with that $3 extra? Are my thoughts, are the thoughts that come out or the work that happens worth it? Are those more meaningful? Oh my God, it's so windy. Are those more meaningful than the $3 I spent? I had to change my direction because it was so windy. There's like no buildings over that way. So it was super windy. And I was thinking maybe the sound wouldn't come through. But yeah, let's say you're journaling about some really important thought, like changing jobs, and you keep thinking about it, but I really feel like you should put yourself in a great environment for that. Because that can really help your mind. So $3, would you pay $3 to have a life-changing decision about changing your jobs or not? Would you, if you're thinking about having a conversation with your partner or moving, maybe you're thinking about moving or traveling, you're trying to come up with travel plans, wouldn't it make sense to pay $3? I mean, the easy way to say that is, wouldn't you pay someone $3? That's what I was kind of thinking. Wouldn't you pay someone $3 if they can have that conversation with your spouse for you? That really helps out with a great result afterwards. Wouldn't you pay $3 to have someone come up with their travel plans? Pay $3 to have somebody switch the jobs for you and get you on that right career path? Well, I know I would. And there's a compounding effect to this as well. If you go to a place to have these thoughts and it's conducive for it, and then repeatedly, it doesn't have to be like every day, but I want to say day after day, you're going to this environment that is conducive for these positive thoughts, then more and more your brain gets into this better state, which is phenomenal. Oh my God, I'm like yelling. And it's like quiet here in Vietnam. Sorry, everyone. Trust me, I'm talking pretty low. I'm not being a bad tourist, I promise. Okay, all this to say, I'm gonna go to Starbucks. Okay, I'm gonna say, I feel like I wanna say, I don't care what you think. But at the same time, maybe from all this that I've shared, your mindset has changed a little bit around it, where you're like, yeah, you should do that, or yeah, I'm gonna do that. That's what I would like. And, it's just an interesting thing because the coffee at Starbucks in Vietnam is, it's not nearly as good as the coffee you can get at local places. I've had the best coffee of my life in Vietnam. Actually, the best one I had in my life was free, given to me by my friend whose parents grow the coffee. That's the best coffee I ever had. And, Vietnam is the second largest exporter of coffee in the world. So they have delicious coffee. Sorry, it's getting windy. I have with me at the moment this bag, which inside of it has a book, a notebook, multiple pens, a highlighter. It's got everything I need for some productive thoughts. And I got a nonfiction book. What I like to do, what I'm about to do, is sit down and journal some thoughts. I'm already speaking about these thoughts, so this is helping a little bit. But there are some other thoughts I'm having. So journal, read a little bit. Sometimes the reading and the material that I like to read brings more thoughts, and then continue with that. And so I'm just going to enjoy that coffee and enjoy the environment and allow myself to be productive. You can go to places with intention. Sometimes you don't have to go with much intention. Just I want to do that. And then you do it, and then wonderful things happen. And if you convince yourself too much, oh no, I can't do that, I should really have something cheaper, or I should do the thing that doesn't cost much, well then you might not be in that same environment that's going to be conducive to your thoughts. So all that being said, I'm going to go enjoy a cup of coffee at Starbucks.